All right. Good evening. I'm going to call to order the April 2nd meeting of the Arlington Redevelopment Board. Recorded by ACMi. First up this evening, we have a public hearing to reopen EDR special permit, docket number 2644, to allow Leader Bank to construct new and replace existing signage at their 180 Massachusetts Avenue address. So, gentlemen, I assume you're here for that this evening. Please come forward, have a seat here, introduce yourselves, and tell us what you're asking us to do, please.
My name's John Pianciullo, and I'm the Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer of Leader Bank. And I'm here to, I think you have all of the information that was presented by the designer and as well from the bank's perspective of putting a sign up. Leader Bank is has the top two floors of the building. Just recently purchased it, and it's de facto its corporate headquarters, and we're looking to get some recognition with regard to signage on the building.
My name is John Dunn. I own and operate Arlington Vision Center at 180 Massachusetts Avenue. And my concern with it is that over the past 28 years that I've been there, we have always referred to it as 180 Mass Avenue. It's considered 180 Mass Avenue Condominium Trust. I think the town has referred to it as 180 Massachusetts Avenue. I am not against the idea of them wanting to put up a sign, but to eliminate the sign that's there that takes 180 Massachusetts Avenue out of the picture, I just think it may create some confusion for the people who are trying to get to my office.
Okay.
And that's my concern.
Okay. Thank you. So we'll begin with Andy. Open up the question answer portion from your board.
Just look at that. I'm looking at
two
the
signs. There's one on the side.
Yeah,
It looks like there's two applications.
So
It's just
looking
one,
north,
by the way.
westbound.
Looking at the
Looking
Two
existing.
different, like, groups
Yes.
of things.
And then that one's
I
right
see
in the
your-
smack of
So
south.
that's
I see what you
existing,
guys are trying to do.
and then that's what they're talking about.
Yeah.
I didn't think about your point till now, but I just was thinking about the sign itself. But I somehow I'm coming around to understanding your point as relative to the sign design. It looks kind of the sign itself looks kind of crammed in, and it seems to overwhelm the building. It doesn't seem, it seems like a retail sign that should be on another part of the building, but when it's put on that main entrance, it just seemed like it took over the building. I was gonna say that it just feels like looking at 180 Massachusetts Avenue right now, if your sign was more like that. Pin letters could be quite bold and strong, could be white instead of gold, but something that feels more appropriate to the building. Right now, it kind of takes away from the building because it's a big 8-inch deep box that's squeezed right into that zone right in
It
there.
was designed to the fact of being able to stay within the restrictions that we understood based upon the sign company that did the research to be able to say the height and size of the signage itself.
And I thought it was a temporary banner when I first saw it. It feels like that. I'm just thinking that it should be big pin letters might be fine right on the building, which is the way that where the building is done right now, so that it feels like part of the building. We have the right to talk about what's appropriate in terms of the signage, just to make our comments. It may be the size of it is allowed, but it feels doesn't feel very dignified looking. It just looks like it's kind of crammed in there.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm Rich Batten. I actually designed
Oh,
this.
okay,
Oh.
so he's the sign guy.
Come up, have a
Come on
seat
in.
with the...
Apologize for
While I'm
being
working on
late.
your sign here, why don't you come over
Yeah,
here?
thank you. Sorry I'm late.
Rich and I, even though he's designed it for Leader Bank, has done it with other individuals. So I'm John
Yeah.
Fanchulo, you've been dealing with Brett Schofield.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
So that's my thought about it, is it's just, I wanted to see something a little more sophisticated. That feels like the building, not just a
Mhm.
commercial sign that would be in a retail, for an individual retailer. So it just doesn't feel like a building sign, it looks like a retail. So I was suggesting either, I mean, big pin letters, that are attached but floating off the building,
Mhm.
or a glass, or something that makes it just, you feel the building at the same time as you're looking at the sign. This just obliterates anything and looks like it was kind of applied.
Mm. Well, one of the things is that the entrance is recessed. So
Right.
you really don't, I understand what you're saying about the 8-inch deep cabinet, but honestly, you don't really see that because the fact that that segment of the building is recessed back. So really, you're not getting the effect of it's not projecting forward, it's actually, set back in. And one of the things that they were hoping to do was to illuminate the letters so that there'd be visibility during the evening hours. So, I mean, the background of this is, it's a Leader Bank colors, the maroon.
Right.
And just the letters are illuminating. But I understand what you're saying.
Andy, can I just
Go ahead,
chime in a little bit? Just I feel that similar to what Andy said. I'm very uncomfortable with how this thing's sort of wedged in there. It doesn't give the richness of it actually degrades the building. Okay, I know that's the Leader Bank color, and you're trying to represent that color, but it clashes with everything else around it. Okay, I mean, there's nothing else that it relates to. It doesn't relate to the brick. It doesn't relate to any signage, any awnings, or anything like that. And it's if you're trying to make it stand out, I would even entertain having some sort of like a trellis that sort of popped out a little bit, that overhung that recess, and then hung some letters off that, and then lit it. To give, I mean, this is your corporate headquarters. It just doesn't look like a sign for a corporate headquarters. Okay, this is Leader Bank. You're not.
Oh, we appreciate that.
I mean, this looks more like the pizza shop down the corner of the street there. And it's nothing wrong about pizza shops. I don't want to
No.
say anything wrong about pizza shops, but it doesn't have that kind of classy elegance and prestige that a bank want to have. So I don't know. I'm just trying to be more.
No,
I think
I
Andy
hear
was
you.
saying it more gracefully than I was, but
Oh, that was pretty good.
That was good. I agree with that. David?
you get a better feeling.
Well,
right?
I agree with the others that it feels a little out of place on the building. I did have a question. Does it actually meet the size limitations?
No, it's too large.
Yeah, no.
Oh, okay.
On the Mass Ave side.
The Mass Ave side is too large.
So that's certainly one issue, that it's just outside the allowable size. I did want to mention the other sign. That one actually bothers me, because I'm not sure I understand the purpose of it. There is no other signage on that side of the building, and to me, it really disrupts the look of the building on that side. And since no one else had mentioned that one, I thought I wanted to express some hesitance to that. I mean, I think absolutely Leader Bank should be able to put a sign up on the building, but I'd like to see something that not only meets the limitations in the bylaw, but fits in better with the building and the other signage on the building.
you might want to just bring that sign around the side down a little bit more, so it would sort of line up with the awning striping and sort of carry that kind of character across. That would help blend it in.
So-
Would other businesses have the opportunity to apply for a sign to be put on the side of the building also?
It depends.
Yeah, well-
You'd have to go through a process so that we could evaluate whether or not those signs are allowed, whether they exceed the number of signs that are currently allowed on that side of the building. I don't know how many would be considering applying, but is there a number of businesses in this particular block?
Yeah, there are, and I think I agree with your original concern that it detracts from the other businesses within the building.
So on the sign over the entrance, we could change the design so there wouldn't be on a flat background, something that's more keeping with the other businesses, which some of them have individual letters that are pin mounted. Is the illumination, is that, I mean, just so that I can kind of, head in the right direction.
Well, I had mentioned earlier that, see how there's these balcony railings that are on top there? If you sort of brought that kind of framework or lattice work across the front entry,
Where's that?
Up above.
all these things here, wasn't there some, like,
There is a porch there.
little porchy stuff there?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, you can look down,
Mm-hmm,
there's balconies up there, right?
yeah.
You say put that here?
Or
That's where it is.
carry it across here.
Oh, is it?
And
The
you
porch
can
is
see
right above the lead of the sign. There's the
see a
post.
little more how it's
You already got
recessed
that there, yeah. That's another, yeah.
And the other signs, looks like they're illuminated with goosenecks.
Mhm.
And the ones on the left, the ones on the right are internally illuminated.
Okay, I was gonna bring up a Google image just to see the whole building.
I'm not trying to tell you, I'm just
No, but
trying to pick
I
up,
think that's a
I'm
good.
trying to pick up
No,
on some of the
we
stuff
could-
that's there that
But
just.
that's something I could work with, for sure, you know?
We appreciate any of the comments, so
I
it's a
mean,
matter of,
I think that's, it's a reasonable way to tie it into the building, and I think I have some ideas, given that.
Oh, I see. So
Can I just go to David's question about size? What are we out of size
So you're,
in reference to?
you have 4 feet, the sign can be 4 feet in height. You think you're at 4'11", it's almost a foot too large. I think you're okay as far as width.
You may have been
So it's
trying
just
to, it's too tall. So
Too
you may
tall.
have been kind of using the same length or
Well,
the height that's
yeah.
there right now, but that sign was never permitted.
Mm-hmm.
So you
I see.
can't use that as your basis.
So the existing sign that's there, the 180 Mass Ave, was never permitted there?
No,
Yeah.
that was not the
Okay.
sign that was permitted.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think having the address of the building is important. So it's
Yeah.
Leader Bank, 180 Mass Ave, Massachusetts Ave.
Mm-hmm. Do you think the Massachusetts Avenue is important, or, I mean?
I think you gotta have the address of the building, don't you? So people can come that are in the building, I think it makes a good point.
Personally, I think most people know Mass Ave. I mean, so, I understand the number for sure,
Yeah, maybe, just the number, yeah.
but, Massachusetts Avenue, it's just a lot
It's
of
a lot,
words.
Yeah.
No,
That's the only reason
I think-
I think you'd need 180.
Oh, 180.
I think
yeah.
180
It's on-
maybe,
it's on their
maybe
proposed
enough.
sign now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
What's that?
It's on their sign now, 180.
yeah.
Yeah, I know, but.
Yeah,
it's-
but
It's
Right.
not very
But not
distinct
that
way.
from, from
No.
It's just
the
gonna make
rest of the
people
sign,
believe that
though.
all that's in there is that it's
Well,
Leader Mortgage Corporate.
that was my question, which is when someone walks through that door, is the only business inside Leader Bank, or are there other businesses that you would enter through that door?
If you walk into that door, the vestibule off to the right is the side entrance to Cambridge Savings Bank, and then on the second and third floor is all Leader Bank.
So Cambridge Savings Bank is the only other
Off
reason to
inside the
go in.
vestibule, and
to go in
then,
there.
somebody coming in from the parking lot, in fairness, from the back parking lot, walks through there's no signage. They can walk outside, and then they would go
Well,
outside
there
to
is a
John's
sign,
area.
there is a sign on the right to the elevator that lists out, it hasn't been updated in a long time, but it lists out, so there are people that walk through the building that do come to me because the parking lot is in the rear.
The photo that came with this shows leader loan servicing sign. Do you intend to take that down, or do you intend to
Yes.
keep that up?
That's going to come down, that place is going to be rented.
So the only sign would be the sign over the door
Correct.
entrance
That-
and the sign on the side street?
That's correct. David, the only reason for the sign on that side of the building was basically for visibility coming from the Cambridge area.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but
Mhm.
since there is no other signage there right now for any of the other businesses, it seems out of place.
What kind of traffic does the corporate headquarters get for people who don't work there?
Quite a bit. We get a lot of commercial customers, so, board members, a lot of meetings, et cetera. It's
Mhm.
fairly active.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if there's a need for a sign at all. If you have an address, it's not like, if you have a building in downtown Boston, you would have the sign right on the facade of the building, or in Cambridge, in any of those multi-unit commercial buildings.
Well, I think we wanted to have some recognition that it's our headquarters if.
Sure. No, I
Yeah.
understand that, I just think.
I'm not certainly here to say that I don't want that to happen either.
Mhm.
I just don't want to lose the 180 Mass Avenue because I've referred to it for 28 years, my business cards,
Mhm.
letterhead, I mean, basically, in the building itself is 180 Condominium Trust. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think what's proposed here does detract from the other tenants in the building, the other businesses that are there. It's a possibility to create some confusion. The design really doesn't fit with what else is there, so I think what you've heard from this board tonight is that we'd like to see something that matches what's already there a little bit better. It suits the neighborhood a little bit better. We're trying to bring these things up. I think you've heard some good comments as far as design. How long do you think it would take you to revise the design and come back to us?
I mean, a week.
Do we need more than a week? When's our next meeting?
The next meeting we have available is in May.
Okay.
So that's May 4th, I believe.
And materials have to be into us a week prior?
can I also mention, Andy, that my tenant at one point, who I informed on the signage, decided to put up a sign that he thought was gonna be better. And within 2 hours of putting up, I was called by the association, told that it doesn't conform. And I went over and told him, you'll be changing it so it conforms to what is.
Okay.
So, and his colors were red and black.
Mhm.
And I didn't feel that it went with the building compared to the other lettering on the signage.
Yeah, I think I'd also be curious as to whether what you're proposing complies with the rules and regulations of the building and condo trust.
So
If it is to interfere with the ability for a business to either hurt it or not allow it to function at a high level, then the condo documentation say that you can't do that in a common area.
Okay.
If it deters. I think
Okay, we'll
deterrence
take
is
a
the
look
word.
at it.
Okay.
Thank you.
May 7th is the next meeting.
May 7th.
And we'd have to agree to meet a little bit earlier that night because it's also annual town meeting. So if we're gonna continue any public hearings, we need more time than our usual half hour.
So we'd start at 7.
7.
that evening.
When would we need to submit?
Oh,
the-
then you'd need to get it to me by April 30th.
Can do that.
And I will receive the same letter from the board telling me about the next meeting also?
Yeah, the same. Well, actually, for continuations, we don't do that. We don't send another abutters letter. So,
Does anyone have
But
a piece
if
of scrap
you-
paper that I can borrow so I can write
yeah,
down
you
this date?
you could also
Thank you,
give me
Johnny.
your information here.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm sorry, what was the date?
If you provide me
7th.
your information, I'll also send you
It's a
an
Monday.
if you'd like.
Could I ask a question on the Mass Ave, the 180 Mass Ave location of it? Would it be, I don't know if it's within the requirements, could it be up top here, moved up, and we redesign the signage, but have that be there and 180 Mass Ave above?
No?
No, between these.
It'll rotate if you do that.
No, I'm sorry. I think that'd be fine.
It's okay with us,
You
but
mean push it up and back?
Push it
Yeah.
up, push it up and
it's
back.
this band,
Up in here?
yeah.
Yeah.
As long as we can maintain the
Okay.
180.
I don't think I have any issues with that.
No, I think that'd be fine.
Sorry, where?
So take the sign the way it is now, where you have 180 Mass Ave.
No, I didn't say take the sign the way it is.
No, not the sign here, but
Okay.
the existing 180 Massachusetts Ave that's there now.
So
Okay.
that
Leave
would
that.
remain.
That would go up.
Oh, no, I was thinking the other way around.
Yeah.
Oh, you were
I
thinking
was-
that
I
put
like-
a
Yeah,
leader
yeah.
bank sign
Yeah.
up above.
Yeah.
Yes, and I would
That's what I
leave the
was
180, because
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I mean, I have no objections if you push the sign up and kept the 180 where it is.
So Leader Bank would be higher?
Yes.
maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any restriction in the
I-
bylaw
that-
doing
no, yeah,
that
I hear
above
you.
the sign band?
We would have to allow them to have an additional sign than they are allowed on that wall. So,
Would the coloring of the sign be more similar to what's on the building, or?
Well, we'll wait to see what they.
yeah,
Okay.
that, we're
Try
kind of
That's
Try
exploring
okay.
right now.
big white pin letters, so it'll be distinctive, but it'll be floating on the
See what I'm
brick.
saying?
So right in this
Saying
area.
instead of having it here, keep
Mhm.
the
Leave
address
that
the way it
as
is.
And then.
Build the signage in compliance with they have with some type of pin, type of lettering, et cetera.
Attractive,
Could be
floating
similar
off the
to that.
building so that brick is going
Yeah, I
by.
think that'd be preferable.
I assume you're gonna go with internally lit letters, that's back halo or something like that?
Internally illuminated either halo or face lit by Cambridge.
Just whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a crime, I'm just.
He knows
Yeah.
the signage
We
better
could
than
do
I do,
that.
so.
All right,
What
so
do
I
you
think,
think? You think that would work? For you guys?
I've got to take a look at that. I mean, honestly, I've drove back and forth on this quite a few times and just took a look at it for as far as visibility goes. I believe it is set back probably another 4 feet or so.
That's what I
Which
was
is gonna
worried.
diminish the amount of visibility as you're going up and down the street for sure. But
Why don't you put a rail up front and just goes right across the height? Go with this, there's a handrail up there already.
No, it wouldn't be up.
Yeah, there's this handrail up top.
Oh, the
there.
handrail is there, but we're talking about going above.
Yeah, and keep it up high, but just pull it forward a little bit. There's no way of looking
now
at
then
it.
you,
It's way back though. See?
Hmm?
It's further back.
Oh.
then you
It's-
come out
it's-
over the.
That part,
Okay,
yeah.
all right, that'd be too far, you're right.
yeah.
Yeah,
I was-
I would like to do that.
Only other
That I
thing
think we get into,
is
but
I'm
Yeah.
saying just put the 180 here and let them have more, pin letter sign right there that lines up with this.
This guy's been around, he doesn't know what to do.
What?
So Andrew, you were talking about leaving the 180 on the building now, is that correct?
That's what I'm saying. And
Okay.
put leader up above, but if it's
Mhm.
too far back, you may not.
I'll have to take, honestly, I'll have to drive it and look at it.
Yep.
but you wouldn't switch it?
No,
With 180 up there?
no, because it's,
no, I wouldn't do that.
I don't think so.
No, I think the 180 where it is makes sense as a signifier for the building as a whole. It's starting to feel like trying to fit a round peg into a square hole. I understand your reason for wanting the sign and the identification and the recognition, but I'm not so sure it's completely appropriate, but see what you have, come back with on the 7th. So, unless there's anything else, take a motion to continue to May 7th at 7 PM.
A motion to continue this till May 7th?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Great, thank
Okay,
you.
thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sorry, it was late.
Thanks.
Have a good evening.
How you doing? Okay, good to see you. Good to see you. Okay.
I'm gonna call them.
Yeah.
I'll just call them.
Any other-
I'm gonna ask them to go to their condo trust too.
The only other way I do it is I just make a one sign, the pin letters, leader bank, and then just put the 180 here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like,
So not paste it on like that, just pin letters, nice,
Mhm.
but lined up with that.
I think I've seen them use a sign like that elsewhere in town, that's just white lettering and their,
You see what I'm saying?
and their
They
logo,
make-
and,
yeah.
and even their logo in white next to
I
it.
was gonna ask him
Yeah.
to do two
I
streams, but I didn't.
The Photoshop didn't help the
I think they're
argument
trying
at
to
all.
rebrand. That's what
But-
All right, so, continuing on, so that hearing is continued to May 7th at 7 PM. Next up is continued public hearing, EDR special permit docket number 3552, Food for Thought LLC regarding 478 Mass Ave. Back again. Come on up, introduce yourselves, tell us what's changed since the last time you were here, please.
My name's David Spinney, I'm one of the owners, 478 Mass Ave, Food for Thought.
Great, thanks for coming.
And I think you know Andrew.
Yes.
Since the last meeting, we've adjusted the size of the sign to make it smaller. And hopefully the bracket description's a little bit better and the information you have, as well as provided some information on the lighting that would be used to illuminate this signage on the
Something was
front.
delivered to our office, I think, after we finished. Is that what you're referring to?
There's just,
You
the-
can
I
ask
think the
that.
only change was the 38 inches. Other than that, it would be the same.
What was
You
that?
can add that, yeah.
The sign was reduced down to 38
I
inches.
see that.
Yeah.
I did.
That's yours.
Oh, yeah.
I have
Yeah.
two of them.
No.
Does everybody have it?
Yeah.
Finished one, okay.
Yeah, so we also have lighting fixtures.
There's a cut sheet, like a picture of a light that was part of the package.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Where are the light fixtures going to go? Can you show me on what's here?
Do you have the original package that you submitted?
I-
If not, I mean, they're really just gonna go probably up just above the window,
Okay.
once the windows are recessed, and angled at the sign.
Okay.
That's one of the things, so it's okay if I.
Go ahead.
I think we pretty much made our comments to the actual blade sign you're proposing here.
Yeah,
You know, we're fine with that.
okay.
I think the issues we have right now that sort of hold things back is your fascia right across the top there. What are your plans to, what to do there? You know, your sign guy couldn't answer.
Right, well, I can
that-
answer as best I can with what I know. The box sign's gonna be removed, and behind that box sign, we originally expected it to be the same concrete material, but it's not. There's actually glass back there.
It's a clear story window, yes.
Yeah, and we would just rebuild it the way it was originally, redo the detail on however the wood framing is, and put clear story glass in.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys are also, took out the space next door, that old dentist place there that used to be
Right.
there. And are you guys gonna continue that fenestration across that face too, or are you gonna, right now, when I see that, it looks like the back of a.
We have to do something across the top there. We haven't even really gotten into the design phase of that portion of the project yet. But the idea would be to take that grading off and just do, I mean, the building next door is, the top of it is horrendous. And the brick wall, we're trying to figure out how much of the brick wall can be removed, because the door has to be enlarged as well. The door's only 30 inches, so it doesn't meet any type of code for today's standards. So we have to rework the entrance and we'd rework the top as well. But what the plan is to get this section of the project up and running, and then go to the design phase, because there's, in addition to the front, if you walk in there, I don't know if you've ever been in that building, it's,
I've been in there when it was a pizza place.
no, I'm sorry, the doctor's office.
No.
There's a maze of rooms, and it has to, on both the first floor and in the basement, and it all has to be removed, and then we can come up with a design that'll work and flow for both spaces. I mean, the demo cost alone in there is probably close to $10,000 because of all of the fixtures and there's leftover grinding wheels from when they were cutting lenses. There's this small hand crank elevator that they would send product up and down. There's some really cool stuff in there that, you know, hopefully we can
So
salvage, but.
your intention is to open up the business in the existing Elton's space
Yes,
with the new signage and with repairing the windows as you
Correct.
mentioned. And then at some point later, then renovate the
The
dentist's
468,
office.
yes.
And then figure out what the front of the entire
Yeah.
new structure is then going to look like.
Right. I mean, there's still the yoga place is next to it, so I'm not sure what's gonna go in there, but we would do something that would tie both spaces together for at least our area.
Mhm.
I don't know what'll happen with that one piece in the center between them and the noodle shop.
I'm still a little confused with the clear story that's been built up here, because storefront is pretty much proud almost to the front of your lease. And I believe if you look up there, because I took a look up there, because you got this vinyl thing over the box right now.
Right.
That window is sort of set back like 2 feet, or the old framing for that window's back about 2 feet.
I think it would only be back the depth of the brick.
Could line up with the glass below.
That's what I'm saying. Are you gonna try to make it line up with glass below when you rebuild it and make it all one plane? or is-
It may already, it depends on what's there. Unfortunately, we don't really know what's there, other than from what we can see from the back.
Mhm.
And from the back, on the inside of the building, it appears to be fairly close to an alignment with what's on the lower part.
Do you have a designer or an architect or anybody?
Design Solutions has been helping us with some small, just drawings for the interior of the floor plan. But we haven't spent, we haven't gone out and done a big design on this. We really just wanted to get into this space as it was and open up the restaurant. And over time, the project has grown, and it keeps growing because of the condition of the building.
So let's get back at least to the sign review
Yeah.
and the lighting that's proposed. None of the rest of that is for us yet.
It's gonna happen incrementally.
Will happen. So I like the sign. I think it's an improvement in that neighborhood. I think it kind of sets the tone for what else may come and starts to give the design guidelines, for lack of a better word, to some of the other businesses that might relet. I think that's good. I think it's an improvement. I like the concept. One of the things that we had asked last time was that a conversation be had with the historical commission. Have you done that yet?
No, we would be talking to them next.
Okay.
We were waiting to go through the.
That's the next stop.
That's the next step in the
Okay.
plan.
Didn't know if that conversation had happened in the interim. I think we can give approval for the sign if we're so inclined to do so, but I think there's an understanding that there are many other issues that have to come back before us. So I don't think we could issue the complete special permit yet. We could just conditionally approve the sign. Say, go ahead and build it, have it on stock somewhere. But
Right.
it can't be installed until the rest of the special permit is heard and approved.
And that would be what we do with the
What
glass.
you do with the glass, what you
Yeah.
do with the interior, whether there's any other permitting issues that have to come before us as far as, I don't know how much we would need to review, systems and things on the inside.
Not
of
on the
glass.
inside, no.
Okay. So.
So it would just be a
sometimes we have to
review of how we
discuss
treat the
that.
glass.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really the exterior plan,
Yeah.
and you wrote I don't know where this is in the past, this was in some past packet, because
Yeah.
we have a couple of iterations of your work, but this was what you were talking about with your exterior plan.
So,
Some of it is to
Yeah.
be determined.
Clear.
And I think I'm trying to be clear here,
Yeah.
so that we're not wasting their time and costing them more money, saying, okay, we're okay with the sign, but there are other things that are going to have to come back in front of us. And so it's certainly up to you to decide, but rather than doing it incrementally, it might make sense for you to have an entire package ready to go and then come back before us to get approval.
but we can approve the blade sign,
We can,
if we want to approve the blade sign today, but it cannot be installed until the rest of the fenestration.
it would have to be a conditional approval.
Yes.
Conditional approval, and what happens with the glass behind the,
Yeah.
Or the elevator.
Well,
yeah.
plus then there's the historical commission.
Right.
Right.
Well, we can approve it, but they can't do anything until they have the approval from the
Right,
historical commission.
yeah, but
which-
it's kind of at their risk whether they want to actually produce anything prior to getting
Right.
approval
No,
from
I
the
wouldn't
historical
suggest that.
commission.
So basically, we're gonna need, if I understand this correctly, we're gonna need the historic commission approval on what happens behind the current box sign, as well as your approval on what happens behind there.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, because this building is on the historic
And we can't remove the
Historic register.
box sign until you give us approval to go ahead and do it. The building inspector was very adamant about
Yeah.
us
Take the
not.
old
They
one
have
out?
to, no, they have to have a sign there. They have to put something back in its place. They can't just have it be blank. So, yeah.
So that's a conundrum to figuring out what's behind there if you can't take it down.
But could you do like a phase one, where you do this, basically?
Mhm.
And the panels there are not glass up above, they're just flat white panels. Plywood painted
Yeah.
nicely and put in there. So you got phase one with a sign up.
Okay.
I'm asking because I don't know if we've done this quite yet. So that such that you can get in there, you've got a nice sign. Then you have to come back for the next step of it, to say, okay, now I want to renovate that fascia band with windows.
Right.
I'm trying to respond to what I think I'm hearing from you.
We would like to replace the glass lights up top. We think it'd just be great to, the ceiling's gonna be higher on the inside. It'd be nice to have the light coming in. We think it'd be a great detail. And it would look fantastic from the inside and the out. We're a little bit, I'm trying to think of the right way to describe it. It's a little uneasy saying that because we don't know what's there. You know, right now it looks like wooden framing with the old opaque glass with the chicken wire in it. And some of it's been broken out to run wires through for the existing sign. So it's what is there, we can't reuse. As far as glass goes, that has to be replaced. But as far as framing, we
You
can.
can't open the restaurant without doing that stuff.
Right,
Anyway, so it's no point in doing a phase one.
yeah.
You just have to, what we want to see is a full storefront package, so we know where the windows are gonna be, and we want to see your design in completion, so we can say, okay, this looks good, you're ready to roll. Since you can't open until you do that anyway, it's no point in having a phase one.
Right, but I'm a little, and my hands are tied if I can't get up there and really figure out what's there without removing that. There's a few things we need to do. We need to create an anchoring package for the sign.
Right.
Right.
So that's gonna have to be done in the center of the building. We have to remove the sign, we have to look at what's there and figure out how we can repair it, and what's gonna work for planning and what's gonna work for the historical commission.
Is there some solution that they can put something temporary in place, so we can
Well,
at least get the old
They
sign
have,
down?
they have a temporary thing already. They've had
The
their
banner.
temporary signage and banner up for months,
I mean, if we take that
Yeah.
box
They're
sign
they're
down and
saying
put
they
the
can't
banner
take
back
box
up,
signs.
Yeah,
we
I
could do
mean,
that?
that's up to inspectional services. I can't,
Okay.
I don't permit the banners, so I don't know.
So what the
I would
bylaw,
encourage,
But that sounds
what,
reasonable.
That-
what the
that sounds
bylaw
reasonable.
says is one temporary sign is allowed per establishment
Yes.
for a period not to exceed 60 days, providing the sign does not exceed the size.
It's been more
And
than
no
60
more than one
days.
temporary sign
Yeah.
permit may be issued for a site in a calendar year.
Right, I understand, but that's a conversation with the inspectional services,
Right.
so. Nonetheless, what is the possibility in terms of timing to come back? If you learned anything new to address any of the concerns from the board? We kind of talked this through on the phone, so I hope I prepared you.
No, I'm just trying to think if we could get back for them, you have a May meeting.
I don't want to beat this dead horse, but I think you can look at, you can still leave that box sign up there and just get inside that store and just chip out a chunk of the ceiling behind there and do a little destructive investigation there and figure out what's there and just do a design package. It doesn't have to be a fully worked out package, but at least a design package where we can approve it and then you move on. I don't know what the hesitant of why he had to do this incremental step thing. I just don't understand that.
there's some risk to that investigation.
They signed the lease already. They're running.
Yeah, we're locked in.
They're in.
We're stuck.
Yeah, no,
And
But chipping a hole in the ceiling is not, I don't think that's a risk.
We have to renovating the
fine.
interior already.
Anyway,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
One more hole
Sure.
isn't gonna make a difference.
Yeah, and I've done this plenty of times where you just put a 2x2 hole in that ceiling there and just look up what there and
See
say,
what's in
oh,
there.
and okay, this is what we have to do, you know, it's, if you do bigger, you have to do big because it may be rotted down the other end, you know?
well, that's what we're,
But it's enough to get the design intent. I'm not asking you to figure out every piece of wood or nail or screws you're gonna put in there.
I mean, our intent was just to replace what was there. We didn't really plan on redesigning it. We were just gonna go with what was there. It was approved once and,
Then cut it open and see what's there and document what's there and redraw it.
which is fine, except we keep running into hurdles on this particular project. So every time we start, it just seems like, okay, there's just more money being spent in every different area. So we'll do our best to come up with a sketch, to come back to show you what we can do. But I can't promise you that we're gonna go ahead with this project. At this point in time, between the signage, the plumbing, the mess that we've incurred when we demoed the space on the inside, we're at the end. So we're doing our best to work within a budget that is already triple what we started. So I can't promise you that it's gonna be a beautiful thing. It's really just fixing what's there. And that's what we intended to do.
And I think we understand your challenge, and, you know, we're not lightly asking you to keep coming back. It's just that each time we're not being shown enough information for us to actually approve something.
If I had had a set of drawings on this building, I could gladly show you what was there, but there are no drawings for this building. There aren't even drawings for the space as it was built out over time. We've done a lot of research to find see what we could find to make it easier to design. Our goal was basically to come in and do the interior retrofit and not do anything on the outside.
I mean, I think you could if you came in and said those weren't windows, but those were fascia panels.
You'd be fine with that?
Also, Design Solutions did this, these elevations.
Yeah.
So even just taking this elevation and adding to it with
Right.
what we're talking about.
Well, that's this front right there. Those show the two panels. I mean, that was
No, I
the-
understand, I mean
Yeah.
like a revised version of this, using the
I've
actual
seen that.
elevation.
I haven't
This
seen
is
this
from,
either.
this is from like the original.
But that's basically, that's like an
Application.
approval package. That's all we can't, we have to
You're
do.
just looking for a more detailed
Yeah.
section?
Yeah.
And what is it? Like a little note that says, painted white fascia with silver panel or whatever the hell it is.
Mhm.
Excuse me.
Okay.
If you'd like, I'd be happy to meet with you and this designer, and we can walk through exactly the things that we've talked about before and see if they can help, if you're amenable to that.
Yeah,
Because
yeah, I mean, I know from what's happened the 2 times previous, I think this board is encouraging you to move forward. We just have to see something like this so that we can approve it,
Okay.
and
It's fine. I was looking to
it can
see
at least
if
be done with us.
I was looking to see if I had a photo of the back of the,
Just put it together in a package.
Yeah.
Jenny can advise you on what,
Of course, yeah.
you're getting there. You're
Yeah.
almost there with the
And I-
pictures. That's part of it. Then you have to have an elevation. It's all a requirement of our special permit.
Mhm.
yeah,
And it's basically what's the storefront.
right.
And then we're able to say, oh, you got everything right, your sill's not too high, it's not too blank. It's our
Yeah.
special permit process. But I, for one, think it's fantastic. I love the sign, I think it's gonna be great. So we wanna find a way to get you going, but it
Yeah,
just.
we wanna find a way to get going too, because the store in Boston has really started to take off. It's,
Good.
with the daylight savings time, it's like night and day compared to what it was in January and February, so it's,
Lobster at night.
yeah.
Good. So,
Mhm.
the 7th, or
Yes.
later?
I guess the 7th at 7:30, it just would be like a short, or
A
it
little earlier, so we don't
could be
get.
like 7:20 if we're, I mean, then you've got stacked to continued public hearings, you have to get to town meeting by 8.
Well, we just
And
move it
so
up to
therefore
like
we
should
maybe
adjourn by
quarter of
over
7.
We could have them come in at 6:45.
Yeah.
Oh, sure, yeah, either way,
I wasn't
yeah.
thinking that one.
Oh, the other way
When
around.
the other one came in,
Sure.
but we could put them before.
Okay, I'm
So,
open to that.
continue
Everybody
to-
else is.
5/7 at 6:45?
So we'll have to do a little more demo. I mean, to give you an idea what we
Why?
found when we took this
Why
in.
do you have to do more demo?
Just more cleanup, really. When we took the
We need to
ceiling
see
down.
we need to see the outside. We
Just-
need to know what your plans are for the
Storefront.
outside.
Okay, I was thinking I could try to get you some photos of the back so you can see what the,
We
but you
don't
don't
need
really
photos.
care.
We don't even need it.
No,
You don't need
just
it,
show us
okay.
what you wanna do with the
It's really just
outside, with the
working on that
exterior.
There's some
elevation.
notes and.
Talk to
Getting
Jenny.
it- get-
She'll guide you to.
Rolling
get
through
it.
those, all the points, but we'll
Okay.
get.
So you're
we
okay
can
with
do
the size of the
design
sign, the way it
solutions.
looks?
Yeah,
Sign
I mean,
wise?
The
yeah.
blade sign,
Can-
yes.
That's fine.
Can I just ask a question? The last time I was here by myself, we had talked about 48-inch diameter. You guys had asked to bring it down to 42, and I had actually brought it down to 40, and we agreed to that.
I like 38.
38 now, really?
Yeah, what's what you just gave us?
Yeah.
Yeah, 38 now, but it was after you and I had the
No,
meeting.
I like it, I like it. It's
30.
3 feet, basically, 36 inches and 2 plus 2.
It's good. It's an improvement in the neighborhood.
It just fits right.
Alright.
It's big, it'll
Yeah.
look big.
No, I know it's big, but just those 2 inches would have been nice for the steak and lobster lettering at the bottom. I'm just concerned that it's gonna look too small. So the extra 2 inches, I know it may not seem like much, but if you could grant us that, I'd appreciate it on
You
my
want to
end.
just move the lobster up an inch,
Exactly.
and then you
To-
have room at the bottom.
For that, yeah.
Then you wouldn't need to make it bigger.
No, I would be, because at 38 inches, what I have to use to route that, where it says steak and lobster, I won't be able to do steak with the and symbol in between steak and lobster. It's gonna have to go steak and lobster. That's what I'm concerned about, that it's gonna look too tight on 3 lines, steak and lobster. So just having those 2 inches, because I don't wanna have to bring the lobster up closer to the white line, then it's gonna look too tight. You know, I want a little bit of black in between the top and the bottom.
It's big, but it's within the bylaw.
You
Yeah,
wanna
it's
go back to
also,
what,
though,
40?
it's
40 is
much
good.
bigger than any other Blade sign that's in
I know.
the central business area, so these are this is an example of one of the other signs.
30 inches, yeah, I know, that's
30
what I wanted.
inches. Yep, so that's why I had the follow-up conversation with them to
No.
get it to be more like other signs that are actually in that district and that area, but.
If it is bigger, does it still comply with all the height requirements?
Yeah, so you have 4 feet.
The
Yeah, we also
compliance
told
is
them
not
about
the
pushing
issue.
the thing apart.
It's-
Yeah,
Not
correct.
just the height of
And
the
that's
sign,
reflected,
but
yeah.
the height above the
It's
sidewalk.
in
and all
compliance.
that.
Yeah.
It's more just the look of it.
I'm fine with the extra 2 inches.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, guys.
Alright,
Thank you.
all right, thank you.
And we'll come up with, well, it'll either just be blanked out or it'll be windows, one or the other.
Yeah.
And
And we're
So-
starting at
Jen, you can-
6:45.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we need a motion to continue that,
Motion to
and then we
continue.
can let these guys go.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, we won't drag Andrew back next time.
It's all right.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'm gonna ask for a position on this board pretty soon if I can.
Exactly.
I'll get, I'll talk to Joe and
Yeah, there you
we'll
go.
try and
Mhm.
we'll come up with something.
Sounds good.
Good, thank you.
All right, thank you. Good
All
night.
right,
Good night.
continuing that to May 7th at 6:45. Fine. Moving on to draft master plan implementation timeline. Jenny. Master plan implementation committee hasn't met in a while.
No, they're meeting
They
this
meet Thursday, right?
Yep. So before you is an implementation, an updated schedule that basically I reorganized to show things within the original implementation schedule, so that you can see what's been completed. And then a series of things based upon things that are near term and in progress. Those are all in blue on all the preceding pages. And then many following pages of things that are not in progress and labeled either near term, midterm, or long term, or ongoing. So I think all that I had promised to give to you was basically just an update of where we stand in terms of the implementation schedule, what are the things that we'll be working on over the next year or so. And so in blue, you can see what's in progress and what are kind of the steps that we're going through, moving things forward. So all these, starting with, it says number 2 at the bottom, the numbers are not like, in order, they're numbered based upon the goal. That's what the number is, number 2.
Is that why you get some long-term before near-term?
Yeah, because they're just, I reorganize them just to reflect if they're in progress.
Because those are out, it's not by term.
It's not by term, yeah.
And they're gonna be discussing this Thursday night.
And the master plan implementation committee is gonna meet on Thursday night to discuss this. So
Okay.
I was thinking maybe you would weigh in on it first, if you had any questions or comments. Glad to answer anything. I can also just walk you through the first few things that we have planned. So for example, on the first page at the bottom, number 2, the second goal, technically. Reduce the number of uses that require a special permit, replace some special permits with a system of uses by right subject to performance standards. The plan is that we would actually hire a consultant this spring with work to be completed by summer of 2019. The technical assistance is what we're receiving through MAPC. I had mentioned this at a past meeting. It's the by right zoning project. Then on the next page, goal 3, consolidate and redefine the business zoning districts on Mass Ave. Same kind of timeline. We would be hiring a consultant this spring and ideally completing work by next summer, maybe later than that. That would be utilizing the town meeting appropriation, which we still have for master plan implementation. And then the other thing that I want to use the master plan implementation appropriation for is on signs. Sorry, I don't know exactly which number it is. I'm gonna make a new goal.
91.
Goal whatever is to revamp the sign bylaw. Obviously, we are really enjoying the sign bylaw as it is right now, but it clearly needs some updating.
Yes.
And for a bunch of reasons, we did not do that update as part of recodification. So I think between the signs and the business district work, that's gonna take up the rest of the money that we have for that appropriation. Don't think that there will be anything
I was
left.
actually not related to this, but for another reason, I was looking at the town sign bylaw and comparing it to the US Supreme Court case
Yeah,
in the town of Gilbert case. And it's mysterious as to what would be allowed under Gilbert and what is not. So
yeah.
Be interesting to have somebody help us figure that out.
Yeah, and
Took
we
that to
do,
the
our
Supreme Court?
consultant did provide an
Well, not
analysis.
from Massachusetts, but a case was in the Supreme Court a year or two ago where they issued a ruling having to do with a bylaw in the town that basically makes it a little bit more difficult to figure out what sign bylaws are constitutional and which are not. So somebody, I think, needs to look at that with that.
So the consultant, through the recodification process, did a pretty thorough analysis of the
Mhm.
sign bylaw, flagging all of the different areas where it's not in compliance with everything from trademark law to Reed and Gilbert and other laws, federal
Mhm.
laws,
Mhm.
and made recommendations. But because it was so far-reaching in terms of
Yeah.
policy changes,
Yeah.
we decided not to do anything. But we can go back to that, and then since there's also, I think, just in general, application of Reed versus Gilbert is still somewhat new.
Yes. it
So
is.
we need to have an attorney who actually has some experience working on that before we can just jump in.
Yeah, I agree.
So those are like the kind of primary things, and then there's a lot of other things noted here that are basically in progress or things that we can begin working on. So that's what this,
Are we constrained to what's in the master plan, or if there are other things that have occurred, can we sort of have our own additional agenda?
well, the board adopted their own agenda
Okay.
last year, where
So-
we talked about a bunch of different things.
So we can add.
But just for the purposes of tracking what we're doing with the master plan, I'm using this table. I didn't put other things in, there's a lot of other things actually.
Okay.
I was just trying to be cognizant of what we've got in the master plan. It kind of also speaks to, Andrew's made this point a couple of times, but at some point we go back through the master plan and say what needs to be updated. I mean, you can see that we're already completing a number of things. We're also completing things that are long-term goals earlier than we thought. So, I mean, that's great, but it means that we probably want to go back and make some updates at some point too. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
When do you do 35, develop a master plan implementation plan, including measurable indicators of progress?
When do I do that?
Well, is this in order, or is this, I guess I'm too far in, right?
Where
So
are
that's
you?
been ongoing.
Oh, that's ongoing.
That's an ongoing, yeah, that's an
Yeah,
ongoing.
and
item.
that's gotten us to things like the residential study group, and
Right.
zoning recodification, and other things that.
Yeah, those ones are in
Is
the
this-
ongoing category.
Maybe it's just me, but it's confusing.
Yeah.
What's going on here? It's all good, I love all of
Yeah,
it.
it's, this
But-
bar. Anything that says ongoing is like
No, I know, but
happening
just
all
this
the
whole
time.
thing, like what is first and.
Well, what is on the first part is everything that we completed. That's
No,
what
I
all
mean,
this.
what would you say,
Oh,
are you going from 2, 3, you're just going in order, is that?
I just went in the order, the numerical order.
So the numerical order was
And
put
the
together
numerical order is
out of
goals.
the goals of the master
They're
plan.
in the
So there's
master
no,
plan. Yeah.
I see,
they're ordered insofar as they should be done at some point, not
the order that
necessarily
you have.
prioritized.
This
The
order,
This order is literally that is the goal, the master plan goal number.
no, but the order that you put them in here, which is not by
It's-
number. What does that mean?
Well, it's not by number exactly, but it's just the number of the goal. I just organized it that way. essentially.
It's a list more than,
It's
it's
not-
a list.
it's not like
more
a-
than a prioritization of.
Oh,
Not
so
a
it's not meant
hierarchy.
to be, oh, okay, you just put them in completely randomly in order, or in this order?
They
Right,
also,
under the
there's
intent.
two different things. So one is, when is it actually happening?
Yeah.
So some of them are organized based upon when they're happening.
Yeah.
Some of them say 2018 with completion by 2019. Some of them say TBD. Some of them, I
It's
think that we're
generally
gonna
by
start.
date?
Generally by date, but also somewhat by following the goal number, which is the goal of the master plan, in the master plan.
Okay. So these are all gonna work their way up, shorter term to longer term?
Not necessarily, no, I wasn't planning to reorganize it that way, but I can.
No, I'm the only one who doesn't understand what order these are in.
What order would help to have it make sense?
Anything that I just don't know. Are there any priorities here, or is this just what?
The priorities are the things in blue.
Okay.
Everything that's
All
in
right,
blue,
that helps.
I think
those
if
are all
you
the
just
priority kind of things.
Drop all the numbers, is
Yeah.
the way it is right now.
I know, I'm
It'll-
thinking the
it'll
numbers
just
are
clear
confusing.
everything up.
Yeah.
Well, or separate the numbers and have a column that says,
I don't mind the
you know,
numbers.
master plan goal number.
You just clarified, because I
It's-
didn't know
That's
that
what
blue was.
action is,
I
but
didn't know
yeah,
blue was
that's
the
fine.
most- Blue was the most immediate.
Blue is the stuff that's happening right now.
Okay,
Pink is
okay.
the stuff that we completed.
And white
And then
is,
white is nothing.
So somewhere,
All of those are important.
somewhere in
Vacant.
here, I saw a reference
Plum.
to bicycle parking.
Yes, it's way in the bottom,
So-
way in the back.
It's in the nothing, it's in the nothing
So-
category.
I
So
saw that.
I had
I
a,
moved that way.
I have a request,
You have
or
to
perhaps a
mention
suggestion. Take it as you will. A while back, I showed some people, I don't even remember who I sent it to, it was so
Laura.
long ago.
It was Laura.
It was Laura.
Yeah.
So, a guide to bicycle
Yeah.
parking, to bike rack.
You gave me that, I have that.
So, and this was something from the Association of Pedestrian and Bicycle Professionals that they produced for free distribution by anyone who wanted to use it. And I wasn't sure if we wanted to have that available as guidance for people, for both the town and for private entities that are installing bike parking, what would we have to do to accomplish that?
So there is actually something in the blue zone, in the priority zone.
Which one's that?
In all seriousness, I did hear you. It's on
One, two,
the,
three, yeah.
it's actually on the second page,
Second page.
and it's action number 14. It's embedded in that
Okay.
action
All
that
right.
relates to your bike parking.
Right. I mean, my concern is, I realize that there are a lot of actions in here, and we're not gonna get to all of them in the near term. We've already had one or two situations where we have required a project proponent to install
Mhm.
bike parking, which they have done, but they've installed bad bike parking.
obsolete rack types and poorly located and things like that. And I'd like to, sooner rather than later, avoid that from happening in the future.
I think there's different ways we can approach some of these things. Some of them could be through zoning changes, but others could be through the rules and regulations that we're gonna talk about at another meeting, where you could actually talk about this as a rule for EDR. So
Okay,
I
I'm
think
open
there's-
to how
I
we
think there's
solve it.
a number of ways.
I just want to find a way to give appropriate and current guidance to project proponents as well as, the town.
Okay.
I have two comments, one related to bicycle parking, but first a more generic comment. How do we get from this list to a set of proposed bylaw changes that we would be bringing to town meeting a year from now, which means, well, 9 or 10 months from now, we have to have the warrant articles. So that's my more generic thing. How do we get from that to a set of proposed bylaw changes? Do we need a schedule? Do we need to prioritize this in some way? So that's my generic, because I'm sort of afraid 6 or 9 months down the road, it's like, oh no, we haven't gotten to where we need to be with any of these, so.
Each one of these individually has a scope of work, which has a timeline attached to it, that then talks about when it has to get to town meeting, when there's public engagement, those sorts of things. So, I didn't include, like, for example, the work that we're doing with MAPC. Actually, I think I shared that with you last time, but that has a whole schedule in it, which talks about the timing of when they're gonna be doing different components of that project, and when we can anticipate receiving things for a spring 2019 town meeting.
At least for me, and if other people this doesn't help, we don't have to continue, it would be helpful to see which one of these do we think we're bringing to town meeting 2019. So I think that would allow us to say, that's great, or gee, that's not enough, or that's too much, or whatever we might wanna say about it. So for me at least, that would be helpful to know, to have that in one place. The bicycle parking, I mentioned this to David, and I don't know if I mentioned it to any of the rest of you. When we approved one of the mixed-use buildings, one of the issues was, where were people gonna put their bicycles? And the idea was, well, let them bring it on the elevator so they can bring it up to their apartments. And these are all fairly small 2-bedroom apartments, and it's hard for me to imagine that people who have furniture and a kid or something are gonna be like shoehorning a bunch of bicycles into their apartment. And I think we need to think about requiring, secure indoor bicycle parking that's not in people's apartments. And they do that in the Netherlands, and there's this cool video that you can see about how they do it. I'm not sure we exactly want to do what they do, but I think as we're encouraging bicycling as more people do it, I think we need to adjust that part. So if we're going to use whatever number this was, 14, amend the zoning bylaw to strengthen bicycle parking, I think that would be the place to think through whether we want to have requirements for new residential requiring a place to park the bicycle.
And we have, in 2 or maybe 3 projects, required secure indoor bike parking.
Sometimes
That
it's
was,
apartments.
no, that was a unique situation. You're right about that one case. I don't remember the details, but there was a reason which we accepted that they were unable to provide the kind of secure indoor facility that we have previously
It
required
would be helpful.
over the
I think.
last.
I think it was the housing project next to the care center
Be-
that we allowed, that you made a statement, you need to go and allow bicycles to go into the elevator.
'cause the
Yeah,
other thing is,
but there was a reason, because typically I've been really insisting on secure indoor bike parking at entry level. And
See,
but we don't always see every housing
yeah,
development that comes into town too. So the other advantage of a bylaw is whether they need a special permit or not,
yeah,
it would set the standard that people need to meet. Easy to meet with a single-family house. you have to think through and I think probably have some more sort of thought about what you do when it's multifamily, but it can be done.
Oh, I've done multifamily in Cambridge, and we do have zoning regulations for, like, on-grade or secure indoor bicycle storage. And the units are kind of small, just like you said, right?
Yeah.
But the people who have these bikes still store them in the unit, even though, no, they have good reasons. I talked to some people that go, look, you have a nice indoor community locks, it's a locked bike room that's off the lobby, you know? And I go, why are you storing it in your unit? Because they said it's like a $3,000, $4,000 bike.
I think what they do in the Netherlands is each unit has to have its own indoor secured. You can't have a common area.
Oh, okay, I think that's a very heavy burden.
But that's what they do there for, maybe, I hadn't thought it through, but maybe that's the reason, because,
Yep.
you know, at least.
I'm sure that's the reason,
in
because
the
I
Netherlands,
wouldn't.
They have their clunker bikes
Yeah.
to ride in Amsterdam, and they have these very expensive road bikes to go
Yeah.
outside.
I mean, I wouldn't store my bike in a common area, for instance, but so I understand that exactly. But I think the issue is that the solutions that are usually proposed for sort of individualized secure bike parking, like bike lockers at a commuter station, they take up a lot of space. So
Well,
So I
unless
think
there's
it's
a better solution.
worth putting
Right.
some sort of subcommittee together.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, those were my
Hash out the
generic
issues
and
tonight.
those are good comments.
I think that's a short-term goal that we could probably come up with some sort of solution for next spring.
So the 5 things that we would be looking at for fall, April annual town meeting 2019 are the multifamily by right, which is item 2.
Cambridge is flat out.
And they just copied it. And
The consolidation, redefining the business zoning districts, number 3. Incorporating what we already have, which is design standards for commercial and industrial districts.
Which number is
Just
that?
that's number 4, incorporating those by reference into the zoning bylaw. That's nothing more than a reference. I think we've got good standards already, this one. Number 5, looking at incentives, which is something that we're looking at in the Heights. That's number 5. And then the last one would be what we were just talking about,
Number 14.
bike parking, number 14.
Number 5 is the multifamily PUD.
No, no, not necessarily. No, it's, other incentives. It could be more than zoning. It doesn't have to just be a zoning incentive.
I'm wondering
What
if
about your signage?
anything,
I don't have my signage in here. I think signage
Yes,
was
it is.
actually,
There it is, 91.
no,
It
that's
isn't.
like the sign, that's the sign enhancement program. We're not doing that one.
We
I
can
think
talk
actually-
about signage.
I think the signage one was meant to be part of consolidating business districts.
Number
What we
2?
talked,
Oh, no, number 3.
What we talked about doing was addressing the districts and then talking about the signage as well. So that's why it became too big of a boat for the whole recodification process. It was a combination of all the policy changes plus wanting to really have it make any sense in any of the districts. So, yeah, and sign by law. There.
Yeah.
Also, we don't know that the sign bylaw will continue to live in the zoning bylaw. I think we also talked about that previously. You may remember, I know that Andrew does.
Discussing moving it to the town bylaw.
We discussed moving it to the town bylaw, which other towns have done.
Mhm.
So, so that's the story of what's coming up for next town meeting.
do you think anything will come out of the municipal vulnerability planning process that will require zoning bylaw changes?
I don't know necessarily. I'm
Yeah, I
not
don't
certain
know.
whether or not it will. I have a draft of the document. I'm looking at it. At the moment, it seems like the Conservation Commission is looking at ways to continue to make changes to their regulations and their approval processes, and then probably other approval processes that we have. But I don't know how much it will have an impact on what we do.
What's BOS?
Board of
Board of
Selectmen.
Selectmen.
Oh, okay. 1 second.
to discussion of the ARB rules and regulations.
So, just
Have been drafted, but
Finish that for 1 second. So I did draft these. I am awaiting Doug. Doug's been getting ready for annual town meeting and special town meeting, so he hasn't given me the full review of this just yet. But I did finish the rules and regulations draft, which basically covers everything that's in the this table of contents. Everything from things that we've actually been talking about, like the Novus agenda time and scheduling and posting of agendas, to how we do sign review. There is actually like an administrative process that's been approved by this board, but I thought maybe that would belong in here. And then we often refer to those design standards, but it doesn't actually say anywhere that those are part of our rules. And then other things that I think are just important to keep in rules and regulations. I referred to 3 other communities' rules and regulations for their planning board. It's a little bit different. So they've got stuff in there that are things that their planning board does that would not apply to the redevelopment board. So this is particular to what you guys do as a redevelopment board. Of course, it's not meant to be completely discussed because I didn't have it in advance of the meeting, but I wanted to give you a copy. I'll also circulate it by email.
okay. Thanks, Jenny.
You're welcome.
What is our process for adopting new rules and regulations?
Actually, I put like sort of a draft vote on the, under the table of contents. You would
Oh, I see.
basically have it out, have a public hearing, which is what we said we would do,
Yep.
and then you would adopt it. So, I also included in here things that we took out of the zoning bylaw as part of the recodification process.
Mhm.
I'll note that some of the things that we took out of the zoning bylaw as part of that process they do not belong to this board, they belong to the ZBA. And the zoning board of appeals has already gone through a separate process to adopt those rules and regulations. So I only obviously put things in here that relate to the board.
So, just thinking back on some of the questions we got during the zoning recodification process, it might be worth trying to anticipate some of those same kinds of questions by providing a matrix of some kind showing what's changed. And I know these are completely new compared to all the rules and regs that we pulled out of the zoning bylaw.
It's totally different.
Yeah,
And,
I'm just wondering, is there a way to think about how to respond to the questions about, okay, how is this different than what existed before, in a way that's gonna be easy for people to understand? Because that was a recurring theme during the zoning recodification.
Pretty much the only thing in here that relates back to that document about administrative procedures, which is what I think it was called, what we were calling it, is the section, the rule about environmental design review procedures. Everything else is brand new. The board has never had its own, for whatever reason, the board, as a planning board, has never had rules and regulations. So this would be the first, if there's not, like a rewrite.
Okay. I mean, I guess
I don't know if that's
it's somewhat of
sort of responsive
less of a
to that particular-
concern, just because it's so short, that it would be easy for someone to, look at the existing document that you had put together that collected all that stuff that came out of the zoning bylaw,
Mhm.
and the new one.
Mhm.
I mean, that's not a heavy lift, I think.
Yeah.
We're gonna take these up at the next meeting, is that the plan, or?
We can, yeah, actually, you could do that on April 23rd.
I would wait until we have an opinion from town council.
We'll
before
have
we
one
get
by
into
then.
it. Okay.
Yeah, so I would say you could discuss it on April 23rd and then open it up like it's a public hearing, and then have it available, and so then like another 30 days will go by and then you can maybe adopt it.
Okay.
So, to give it the time, and that will then maybe, people who were concerned or curious about the administrative stuff that had been taken out of the bylaw might come talk to us about that during the public comment period.
The only thing I really have any, I don't know, I'm talking about comments right now, but the only thing I had is, you're sending Thursday at 7 PM or something like that, the deadline for submitting materials in. I think that's really puts a lot of pressure on you guys to get the information out to us by Friday, so we each have the weekend to look at it. I would propose moving it to Monday.
Yeah, that actually is, I used, I think, an earlier iteration of the notice agenda policy document that you guys adopted.
Okay.
So I think we did amend that to an earlier time, because
It is earlier.
it's not, I don't think it's that, but yes.
Yeah, in practice, it is earlier.
Okay, because it just
I made it
makes
like
it
a
too,
week.
makes it too hard for everybody else to do that stuff.
Yeah.
If we make it Monday,
Mhm.
the week prior to our meeting, it gives us a chance to at least look at it
Yeah.
and be more familiar with
But then
it
we're not getting things handed to us at
the
the meeting.
day of.
Yep.
Yeah.
So all right, so we'll bring this up again on the 23rd.
Yeah, on the 23rd. Yeah, the 23rd, you're scheduled to meet at 7 to have a public hearing for a special town meeting article about extending the retail marijuana moratorium. That's actually the first item on the agenda. After that, you can talk about rules, draft rules.
Is the warrant out, is that already available? Okay.
Is that a half meeting or a full meeting?
Our meeting,
The 23rd.
Yeah.
it starts at 7.
Yeah, that ends at
And then
8
it's basically,
because of
yeah, we adjourn
We're
to
gonna
the
have town
order
meeting.
of.
And we're having here, not, you know,
No,
No.
we're having it. There's nothing for us to opine on at annual town meeting
okay,
this year.
that's a change.
It's a
Yeah.
break.
And when's the special town meeting that has the
It starts on May 9th.
moratorium? Okay, so we have a little time.
Yeah, we do have those times. So I'll also prepare a report for you, a report to town meeting.
Moving on to review of the minutes for February 5th, is it? And February 12th. Whether anyone has comments or changes to these, it is very well done to me.
I looked at them and did not have any comments.
I didn't have any.
I do not have any comments.
Nope.
So I move to approve both sets of minutes.
I move to approve both meeting minutes. I don't know what date that is.
February 5 and
February 5th and February 12th.
February 5th and February 12th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any other business to discuss? Okay.
Motion. Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.